Hey guys, my name is Mark from Jazz Guitar Lessons. Welcome to this video where I'll show you step by step how to quickly learn, memorize, and retain jazz standards effortlessly. So just some quick note as far as proof if this process works. I'm going to put a video link here or here where I recently played a gig with a student of mine, and he came to me about 8 months prior going, I can't really play any tunes. I'm able to play songs, scales and chords, but I can't put them to songs. So we finally played a set. And now in a couple of weeks, we're going to play 2 sets in a local coffee shop. So let's listen. See, so not only does this process work for standards or for any tune with melodies and chords, but also in the current video, I'm going to be the guinea pig where I picked one tune I was not too familiar with that's called Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, which is a famous ballad standard, and I took it through the process I'm about to take you through. Now let's just talk a minute about if this video is for you. It's for you here if you consider yourself an in-betweener, meaning you're not a beginner anymore, but you don't consider yourself an intermediate jazz guitarist yet. And you may be learning scales and chords and different techniques to play the guitar, but yet you still struggle to apply those things within the context of jazz standards. And you may fear that the efforts you put into jazz guitar may be just a waste of time, and naturally you would like to make playing on songs second nature, right? One of their biggest fears might be, hey, play me a song, and you go, freeze, there's nothing I can do. So if this is you, stick around. And according to the viewership on my channel, it's probable that you're watching this and you know that you can already play songs from beginning to end in other styles like pop, rock, country, and blues, or if you're not right now, you have this ability to play either guitar or bass in a band, and of course you would like to make building a jazz repertoire something very natural. So again, if this is you, let's just stick around and we'll get through the stages together. Now, why are so many guitarists struggling with memorizing jazz standards? In my opinion, it's because there's a lack of a replicable process or a very methodical approach to each standard. Typically, guitarists will grab a sheet, something like this, and they'll see the melody, if you can read. If you can't, maybe you'll grab the tabs, and then you'll look at the melody and the chords, and then you'll learn both, and that's the end of the journey. And probably, if you do that on a song like this, 2 days later, you've forgotten the song. So that's, I think, the typical problem with memorizing jazz standards. So what's the solution to this? So in my view, the solution is simply to create that replicable process and to take 5 to 10 tunes rather quickly through the ringer so these songs can be learned, memorized, and maintained. And the way I like to think about it is personally, it's divide and conquer. It's not just I have the chart and I don't know what to do. I create myself mini assignments that I can know I will go to the next song, even if it's a different chord progression, a different structure, or time signature, or tempo, or style, I can still execute pretty much the same steps over each of the songs. Okay, so enough with the talking, let's get to the process for memorization and retention of the song. So here's what I did in this video. I did take Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, which is a tune that I'm not super familiar with, that I didn't really know the melody, memorize it. I'd never played through these changes, and I ran through these steps I'm about to take you through. So in order to save time in this video, I created a playlist with links you'll see appear as I run through them with demos. So it's literally the first time Mark's goes through step 2 over Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. I have my iReal library pulled up right here as well, and I have this Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. So I sort of took myself as the guinea pig to show you how it works. So let's dig into step 1. All right, the first step of going through these standards is simply to pick staple voicings. There is no timing involved yet, and we don't need to go into extensions. What I'm looking for is these staple voicings that there's going to be a PDF link here or in description, which I talked about at length on this channel, which have a root on the 5th string or root on the 6th string. So that would be a C major 9. You can do C major 7 or C major 7. This is all very kosher. And for each chord quality, meaning major, minor, or dominant, I will have a specific chord grip I can take. So I did the video here with step 1 over Smoke Gets in Your Eyes that you can watch and see my process and my thinking. Let me run you through quickly what I did in the other video that you can find in the link. So I have Smoke Gets in Your Eye. I have this chart that is from a fake book of sorts. The changes are pretty reliable. I did change a bit of what's happening here, and then I simply sat down and decided to go, well, okay, this is an E flat major 7 of sorts. I'm going to find an E flat major 7 that suits me, and then a G flat diminished that suits me. It says over G, that's the bass player. It doesn't really matter. I see G, G flat, going to F, so I'm doing an F minor 9 over here, which is all stuff you can find in the Staple Voicings cheat sheet, and a B13, and so on. So as I went in the video, I clicked here, and I showed you exactly which shape I chose. And that's the end of step 1. That's it, guys. And now into step 2, which I'll put the link here or here or here, is I simply took the Smoke Gets in Your Eyes backing track, and I put it at tempo, and I started my iReel, and I played the staple shapes along with a tempo. And the reason I call this a conveyor belt here is because the songs you perform like the standards will typically have a form. So in this case, it's this 8 bars, then this other next 8 bars, followed by a bridge, another 8 bars. So it's AABA common form, or AABC, and it's a 32 bar form. So that is the length of the conveyor belt, because after we are done here, I'm going to draw on the screen, after we're done here, it goes back to the top. So whether this form is a 16 bar, an 8 bar, 12 bar blues or whatever, it's really important to be able to know where you are and to recap at the top. So in my demo, what I did is really do it only once, because it's a pretty slow tempo, it gets pretty tedious and boring, it's like 3 minutes. So you can do that on the standard you have simply to play through the conveyor belt. Don't make the chords more complicated, and simply hang on with a steady rhythm. I like Charleston swing for the basic swing, or you could do a basic bossa pattern and just play through the form. And that's it for step 2. All right, step 3 here, guys, is typically where most guitarists get in trouble. So this is the chord melody step. So remember, in step 1, we just found our staples, and step 2, we did our staples through the conveyor belt in time with a solid rhythm. That's it. In step 3, we create a chord melody. Linked to my demo here. Actually, it was the first time that I attempted to play a chord melody over Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. So you can find a book in which you have a pre-made arrangement of a chord melody, but here's the trick. Instead of making full-fledged arrangements that are overly complicated, what I recommend is starting with just a melody, of course, and in this case, it's this one. Let's see, E flat. Da, 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 do, da, 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 do, da. Starting with that, and then seeing, can I maintain that phrasing while I put chords underneath? If I know a chord with it, for instance, G flat diminish, so I go ba, ba, da, 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 da. Oh, that's an F minor. Yeah, I know a shape. If I know a shape under it, play the shape. If I don't play it. So we wind up with what we could call a thin style of chord melody that's similar to, say, the playing of Bill Frisell, that Bill would demonstrate on video, go, oh, here's Days of Wine and Roses, and I'm just going to add what I can to it. So it's always putting the melody in the center. So the step 3 is really, it's the chord melody step, because jazz guitarists, we love that step, but at the same time, it's the melody step, okay? And I wrote here minimal. I think I'm going to highlight it because it's pretty friggin' important. It has to be a very minimalistic version of the chord melody that I can take, and I could play it at a jam. Doesn't matter if I play all the bass notes. Doesn't matter if I play all the chords, all the bass chords. I'm not Joe Pass. I'm not trying to make this wonderful. I'm just trying to get a process so that the melody is in the spotlight. And now we have the chords and the melodies, and let's move to step 4. All right, step 4, make the changes. This is also where guitarists get into troubles. What does making the change mean? So let's just dig into these chords. You see, there's a lot of chords on the screen. People will say, well, what's the arpeggio for it? What's the scale for it? What's the mode I have to employ? What's trick or licks, 2/5 licks can I plug in? Say, none of that. Okay, here's the approach. We have a chord, and what I elect to do over every chord is land on the 3rd degree, 1, 2, 3, and I've discussed this at length on this YouTube channel, at each point of chord change. So if it's an E flat major, and I play E flat major 7 like this, the 3rd is here, 1, 2, 3, that's it. And what I did in the video demo is to show you I can first really just land on the 3rd and play the 3rd on beat 1 or on the chord change. So there's 2 chords per bar, it's a slow ballad, fine. And then I can slowly start to add approaches into that. So what I can do is do 1 note approach into it. So if it's an E flat, I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 4, 1, and then I could do. That would be the best way to go about it. I think about it like a landing strip. This is a landing strip, and the plane lands into the 3rd. Where does it land from? From above. The plane lands from above, so I pick 3 diatonic notes above, and I land into the 3rd of each chord. All right, wrapping up the step 4 here, guys. I didn't want to make this more complicated than it really needed to be. You can watch the demo that I'm making on Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. And the whole point is I started to wing stuff around it because I'm familiar with the fretboard, I'm familiar with these chords. But the point is, this is a really good starting point to just target the thirds. At a simplest baseline level, if you target a third and you have 2, 3 approach notes, you can later on start to think about chromatic approaches. You can later on start to think about this and that. And the point is, again, the process is replicable not only over all the tunes, but I'm taking this bar and I'm replicating the process over this bar, over this bar, over this bar, so that I only have one thing to think about. This is the beauty of this entire process, guys. And finally here we're getting to step 5, which is a synthesis step, if you want. So what I did is I'm creating a mini version of playing a complete rendition of the song, meaning I'm playing the head in, right? I'm comping. How do I know how to play the head in? Well, I've done my work in the third step, right? I play a minimal chord melody of sorts. I know how the song goes, right? And then I do the comping. So I'll do a full chorus of comping, and I go, oh, these are the chords, fine. And then I do a full chorus of solo. How do I solo? I make the changes in the fourth step. I land on the third and maybe I butter it up around it, maybe a blues line, maybe whatever's there, but I'm not making this more complicated than it is. I'm just trying to get the song down, right? I'm not going into super Locrian, whatever. No, let's play the tune, right? And then head out. That's a process. So that's exactly what I wrote here, which I call the 4 chorus exercise, the 4 CE, 4 chorus exercise. So I play 4 chorus of the song. I play the head in, I play the comp, I improvise, and I head out. Note, when I did the demo in the link below, what I did, I think I did probably the head in for one section, then I did the comp, then I did the improv. So just to save time, I didn't do it for the full section. But if you're working on a small tune, like if you're working on Blue Bossa, it's only 16 bars. You should probably do 1 full chorus of each and even more. So that's it for a 5th step. So let's go into a quick recap here of everything that we've done. Just to tell you, to reassure you, if all you do on your standards is to have a divide and conquer approach, okay? If that's all you do, you go, I have a process down. Not necessarily Marc's process, but I have another process. It could be 3 steps. It depends how you want to address it. It could be 7 steps. But the immediacy of this idea is to have something that you divide and conquer and that you reproduce over more and more tunes. Do Fly Me to the Moon. Do Autumn Leaves. Do All the Things You Are. Do Stella by Starlight. As you do this, you're like, oh my God, I think I'm becoming a jazz guitarist, which is exactly what's happened to me personally. It happened to hundreds of my students on the Jazz Guitar Accelerator. I'll get to that in a moment. Side note, you guys know my other process. If you've been following me on YouTube, I said 7-stage process. And you guys are right. Let me just run through this in a moment. So even though here I'm really putting 5 steps, I call these first 5 steps really the repertoire building. So with those, I'm building my list of tunes. I'm not going to win a Grammy with my performance, but at least I can stick to the tune while I'm at a jam, or if I comp for a singer, or if someone asks me to follow and play a little bit of a solo. I'm not going to do everything super well, but at least I can follow along and I'm doing things that related to songs, right? Compare this to having a practice session where all I have to do is arpeggios and 12 keys all over the fretboard and I get discouraged and I go nowhere and never play songs. And then at this next family cookout or barbecue, someone says, oh, you play jazz guitar, why don't you play me a song? And you can't, right? You see the contrast between this. This is why this works and this is why we have fantastic results in the Jazz Guitar Accelerator program. So in the program, I also go further by saying, well, in stage 6 and 7, you should refine your vocabulary for comping and for improvisation with the following tools that I propose and I suggest. So I think of the first 5 steps now as repertoire builders, and I think of stage 6 and 7 as vocabulary builder. So I recommend now having a minimum of 5 tunes memorized like the process we did in the current video before you start to think of building a vocabulary. Go for volume, go for tunes first and getting basic literacy over the tunes. Go, I can play the songs. And then you can refine what you want to say on the songs, right? So thanks for watching the videos, guys. We went through the recap. We already have these steps. Grab your staples, do them in time over the conveyor belt, play a minimal chord melody, target the third, make the changes. If you have more meaningful ways of targeting the thirds or whatever, please do it. And then do a synthesis step. Film yourself, which is what I do with all my students, and submit this video to the Jazz Guitar Fellowship. It's totally free of charge. You can join this in the description below as well. And if you need a hand, if you need more help, you can come to me and I will have a custom plan for you over each song that you work on. As soon as you master the process, And this is a methodical approach. As soon as you know how to do it over 1 or 2 songs, then you're free to select more songs. And what I will do is I will personally watch your videos, I will watch your improv and your comp, and then suggest ways to build your jazz vocabulary. So you can book a call with me totally for free of charge in the description below. And again, I will see you soon on jazzguitarlessons.net. Improve your jazz guitar playing with a real teacher. And please like and subscribe to this channel. Or if you have someone you know who's starting to memorize jazz standards, please forward them this video, share that with your friends, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.